Hi, I'm Karen Hurt, and I'm here with our next edition of Asking for a Friend. And today we are going to be asking the question, what makes a team great? And I have my friend, a repeat guest, David Burkus here, because he has a brand new book out called Best Team Ever. David, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me back. It's good to be back.
It's always a good sign. I am a big fan of your work. It is very much aligned with our research. We are on the same team with building human-centered leaders and high-performing teams and great cultures. And I was really curious because the subtitle of your book is The Surprising Research of High-Performing Teams. Well, of course, I'm curious about surprising. So what is the surprising research and your findings?
Yeah, I would say there's two surprises, or at least there were for me, right? So surprise number one is just how little talent affects performance. Talent is important, right? All other things being equal, you'd rather have a talented player on your team than an untalented one. But taking talent and turning it into performance comes down a lot more to culture, to the culture of the team, how well that person fits with it, the habits, the norms and behavior that team engages in. And, I rely on kind of sports analogies for this, but there are business analogies too. We all know that example of bringing a new star player to join the team and they just fall apart because they don't click with the rest of the team. So it's not surprising that the research is there. What's surprising is just how much of it and how much it applies to fields outside of things like sports, right? So that's surprise number one. Surprise number two is that those great team cultures, those ones that turn talent into performance, they're actually really similar. Every dysfunctional team or organization is sort of dysfunctional in its own unique way, but high performance teams have a lot of similarities. Fundamentally, they have three things in common that we see across all the research, whether it is in-person teams, hybrid teams, virtual teams, cross-cultural teams, et cetera. They're marked by a sense of what I end up calling common understanding, psychological safety, and pro-social purpose. So common understanding, psychological safety, and pro-social purpose. Those are the all happy families are alike things. And it's a surprise just how often you see it in pretty much every great team you look at. You would think it'd be a little more unique and everybody has their own explanation, but no, you just consistently see those factors over and over again.
So I'd like to go, because I'm all about really practical advice here. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting when you talk about that common understanding and creating common understanding, you're not just talking about clarity of mission or clarity of goals. You're talking about clarity of the way we do work together, or how we work together. And I thought possibly the most controversial sentence in your book was this, and I resonated with it quite a bit. So I'm going to read it, and then I thought we would play with it. So you say, people don't need to know what color or series of letters their teammate is, referring to these personality assessment and styles, work styles. They need to know specifics, like why he always responds to a question with a question. And so what of that is, what do you do instead? And you talk specifically about how to do that by creating these team manuals. And I thought it was so practical and so useful. And I think our listeners can really benefit from that. So I thought we'd play, as colleagues, as you are thinking about if you were to go and work with some of your clients and you were to answer those questions. And what would I say answering those questions? Okay.
Yeah.
So first of all, I am an ENTP and I am high D and high I. So now you know everything you needed to know about me, right? No. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you say that. The irony is, no, I really don't. I don't know anything about what it's like to work with you from any of those.
Yeah. So I like these 4 practical questions. So I'll start by reading one and then ask you, how would you answer that one?
Yeah.
So, I am at my best when.
Yeah. So I am at my best when I am teaching or presenting information that I have done a tremendous amount of research at ahead of time. I am not at my best when I'm ad-libbing it and making it up as I go along, but when I've done the time to do the research, figure out exactly what a client needs, et cetera, and I have a body of work that already addresses that. That's not new things I have to find, but that already addresses that. That's when I'm absolutely at my best.
Interesting. Yeah, that's good. All right. So I would say I am at my best when something new needs to happen. So we've got to figure out the strategy. We've got to figure out the vision. We got to take a different approach to get there, getting that out there. And then how are we going to do that? So that's for me, one of the things that I think I feel most energized about. Okay. I am at my worst when. What would you say there?
Yeah, I'm at my worst when the work that I'm doing is entirely solo, right? Like when it's replying to emails or building out a spreadsheet or something like that. I can get about 30 minutes in before I just am so drained I want to take a nap or do something else. So like I've learned over time that I can do it, but I have to do it in sprints. I can't just dive into it because the solo nature of it, not having someone to bounce the ideas off of, et cetera, just drains me.
100%. One of the reasons I have this show, so I can talk to people and not just sit here and perfect. Okay. I'm at my worst when it's really painstaking attention to detail. So, like doing the index on the back of the book afterwards, like that's not my job. Can't do it. Too much detail. Okay. You can count on me too.
Yeah, you can count on me to sit down and think through your ideas in conversation. So like you're at your best when something's got to be new, et cetera. That's not necessarily me, although it doesn't surprise me based on what you're at your worst when. But for me, like once you've got that new thing and you want to go, okay, how do we think through this? You can count on me to listen to it all, think through it, and probably think of a couple angles or potential roadblocks to look out for that you haven't thought of yet.
Nice. I would say you can count on me to come up with really practical ways to do whatever it is you're needing to do. You're not going to get a whole bunch of theory and like, yeah, you're like, yeah, I can do that. All right. And then you have one more question. What I need from you is, so this one's tricky to answer in make-believe land, but like if you were to say this to a client, you're building a new relationship, maybe with a client that you're supporting, what I need from you is.
Yeah, what I need from you is to check my work without judgment, right? So I think fast, I work fast. When I write fast. When I talk or build a slide deck, which means there are typos, there are missing words. In slides, sometimes there are like I'm building out a model and I forgot a whole section of it because I'm just moving so fast. And I need from other people on a team, et cetera, a second set of eyes to look at that and look at it with the idea that like he missed stuff and that's okay. And we'll fix it instead of look at it like I hate this probably happens to you too. I get emails from readers that are like super judgy over an article because I missed a word. And I'm like, well, I wrote it 30 minutes before sending it to you, right? Like give me that without judgment and know that it's the internet. I can make improvements anytime I want. It's not like I'm carving it into stone, right? So that's usually what I need from teammates too, especially when it's big and important, like a book. I need a lot of different teammates looking at it. And by the way, there's 5 typos in the book that we found so far. So we still don't do it perfectly.
Oh, that's the worst, right? Especially when you're reading it for something and then you discover it's there. Okay. And what I need from you, I've discovered this is very important to me, is to treat me as a strategic partner, not as a vendor. And most of the time that's not an issue, but every now and then you'll and it when it happens. And I'd rather not be in relationship with you because it's not why I'm here.
Yeah, so, I feel that.
Yeah. All right. So can you just briefly tell people how they would use that on their team? How would you recommend?
So the idea, as you just saw, Karen and I learned a lot about how we can work together on this and where if we were engaged in a project, maybe we're both working for the same client, we know who's going to take what and what have you. And I've found over time, both on the practical side and on the research side, that's a far more productive conversation to have to learn about work preferences and difference in work preferences than it is to say, let's all take the DISC or the Myers-Briggs or the Enneagram or some other test. If you know me and you know my work, I'm not a big fan of those to begin with. I do think they spur a fun conversation. The problem is that conversation doesn't translate into practical things all that often, unless you've got a really skilled facilitator to do it. And most don't. Most bought 12 copies of StrengthsFinder, took out the test, had one meeting, and then boom, that's the end of it, right? And so these kind of questions, and you can add whatever you want or take away. These 4 are like the template. They're meant to be about differences, but about differences that are actually how we're working. And then once we have that conversation and we understand it, we can better build a plan of attack as a team for that project that we're trying to complete.
Beautiful. All right, David, once again, tell people the name of your book. You want to wave it at us? And
I love waving it. It's new. It's so new. I still love waving it at people, right?
And where can people find more information about you and your book?
Yeah, so a really easy way to find more info about Best Team Ever. I'm super lucky. I'm the only David Burkus on the internet that I've found. So if you go to Google and you type it in, and you'll find it on whatever social network you want, including TikTok. We joined TikTok like 6 months ago. My video producer made me know I don't dance, but yes, we post a lot more quick hit things like this on how you can work better with your team and lead your team better, maybe even turn them into the best team ever.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time today, and we'll see you next time on Asking for a Friend.